Hello, everybody. It is Saturday, June 13th, 2015, and this is Radio Tokyo Episode 5. We have officially been doing this over a month now. Now, I'm sorry, those of you who are regular viewers can see I'm clearly here, and Nick is here, but I'm afraid Daenerys Targaryen has ridden off on her dragon this week. Danny is actually at a wedding, uh, but she'll be back next week, hopefully, as long as everything goes right. And Nick, I completely forgot to do the music. I just realized that. I mean,
Eh,
I think, I think it's because this week has been a very hard week on all of us. I mean, we lost Christopher Lee and the American Dream. Dusty Rhodes passed away, and then
didn't
I
somebody?
cannot think of, huh?
I was trying to think of the other person that passed away. There's one more.
It was a British actor. I cannot think of his name right now. And then there was a
We're
country
we're terribly
musician.
sorry, whoever you are, British actor.
I'll I'll look it up and add in the things. I mean, there was a country musician who was killed apparently at a concert
I didn't even
because
hear that one.
yeah, it's weird. It has been a weird, sad, strange week this week. I mean, look at Game of Thrones on Sunday. I mean, everyone was just horrified by what happened, and I'm not going to give spoilers, but it's just been a rough week. It's even worse because it was announced this morning that Kino from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze is in the hospital with kidney failure. This week sucks.
Wow, it's just dang.
Yeah.
I,
Oh, and apparently, Rue McClanahan has died again.
huh. I
Yeah.
mean, it, usually we see actors dying three at a time, but this week just seems to be more than that.
Yeah. It's been a rough week. It's been a blow to a lot of people's childhoods, and I think compared to last week, we're not going to be that animated. Although, you know, that is absolutely the worst segue to the topic of the week ever. Um,
You really have to
and
work on these.
I
So funny,
know,
man.
I
So
know, I know. I'm sorry. Like I am, 10th
apologize
Doctor
to the
level
listeners.
sorry.
Apologize to the
Do it.
listeners.
Do it.
Apologize to the listeners.
I am. Like I said, I am 10th Doctor level sorry here. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But yeah. Anyway, we had this big show planned for this week, and it was going to be about cartoons and anime and movies and everything. And I asked a lot of people what their favorite shows were, and everybody I asked, except for maybe one, actually answered, and that one was my mother. My mother's favorite cartoon has been the Roadrunner in Wile E. Coyote for as long as I can remember her talking about it. So that was, of course, what she told me.
It
Um,
is a super classic. I do love that.
it is. It's really good. But like I was gonna bring up. Oh, excuse me. Uh, I was gonna bring up a clearly ill-timed at this point uh, death of Saturday morning cartoons on this week's show, and I'm not even sure in all good consciousness I can even use that phrase. So I'm gonna go with the ending of Saturday morning cartoon.
Or maybe the diminishment, maybe.
Well, they're still there. It's just with the rise of Cartoon Network, which, by the way, on the Wednesday show, excuse me, uh, I talked about how earlier this week new Powerpuff Girls are coming out, and
I
apparently
heard
a
about that.
reboot. Yeah, and apparently a reboot of reboot, amongst other things. It's like all of the cool things that anyone that's 30 years old or so liked when they were little has come back. I mean, there's going to
Well,
be a new Transformers 5
well, we
at
hope.
some point. Huh?
We hope it's good
What?
because
Which
it
one's
might be
one?
bad. It might be
What?
terrible.
Transformers?
Well, and the Powerpuff Girls.
Well, see, it's Powerpuff Girls, and that's hard to do wrong with. I mean, it's not going to be the original voice actresses or actors, and it's probably there's probably no way that they can get away with having a lot of the same characters be the exact same way they are. For example, him, there is no way that they're going to be able to get away with having a somewhat stereotyped transgender character. And by the way, those of you who saw the original Powerpuff Girls and didn't know that, yes, that's what him is. I'm sorry. But no, there's no way they're going to be able to do that. The current standard, at least for that particular topic in children's cartoons, is I believe She's Owl. But that's an entirely different story, and apparently it angers people that that cartoon was made because it's teaching children the wrong thing. I
Hmm.
don't get that. I mean, like most of the time, growing up, I think most people clearly got well. Everybody gets messages from cartoons, you know, and I like to think they were all generally positive.
Hmm. In general,
You know what?
I can't really think of a bad lesson I learned from cartoons.
But there really are none. I mean, it's sure, when you become an adult, you realize how much these things affected you. But has it really been for the worse? I mean,
Not
other
that I
than
can think of.
like other than the fact that our children, our grandchildren are not going to wake up and say, "Oh, cartoons are on," cartoons are on, and they're going to get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and run to the TV, to sit there until 1 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever, watching cartoons, and they're going to know what channel they have to go to. No, like now it's all online, and now it's all DVR and everything, and
It
it's
kind of
it,
ruins the fun.
it does. Like, I mean, I understand, why I don't like it, but I understand why. I mean, it's all for a
Convenience.
well, not necessarily convenience, but the death of Saturday morning cartoons is because um, there was a requirement to put more educational programming in, and cartoons have traditionally been used to sell toys, and with having to reduce, X amount of programming that was designed to sell toys and bring money, well, they had to stop. And now, uh, I I don't want to say this, to be mean to Cartoon Network because I like Cartoon Network, but a lot of their shows don't function that way. They seem it. I mean, have you
Yeah, they're
watched any of their new shows?
yeah. They're not really for selling
Like
toys.
Steven Universe and stuff like that. I mean, I just don't get those shows.
I actually love Steven Universe. Actually,
What about Uncle Grandpa?
oh no, that show is horrible.
It makes me think of the song from several years ago. I'm my own grandpa. Do, 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 do. It makes me think of that, and it's
Oh no,
weird.
it,
It's
it I'm sure there are people that like Uncle Grandpa and enjoy it, but it's a horrible show to me. and I would not compare that to Steven Universe at all, honestly.
I just, I really just don't get, a lot of these modern cartoons, and I kind of
Hon-
wonder, like what.
Honestly, I feel like they're designed more for the teenagers and young adults than children.
Adventure Time and
I would say Adventure Time and Steven Universe are more designed towards um, older teenagers and young adults than children.
well, I was gonna say, I just completely forgot the name of the cartoon. The one with Mordecai and Rigby where they're at the park.
Oh, regular show. Yeah, that
Yeah,
too.
thank you. Regular show. That's obviously designed for older people. And think like cartoons like that, I get. I really do. I will sit and watch Regular Time. Sorry,
Regular
Regular
show.
Show and Adventure Time and stuff like that. I'll watch that.
Steven Steven Universe is actually in the same. It's a very similar style to Adventure Time. I'm not sure how much of it you've watched.
A couple episodes and it was just strange. I just didn't quite get it. I don't know. I
It
guess that
has it has a very big storyline, but you don't really see it until the later shows. So
I guess
I would actually suggest you watch that again later.
that portion of my childhood just died. Like where I can watch something like that and get. I need to quit saying things like that this week. I am a horrible, horrible person. Wow.
I was trying not to point it out, but yeah, yeah.
Jeez. It's really been that rough of a week. I mean, it's not like I would never say something has died out before. It just seems like this is just the worst possible week ever for saying that. But it's true.
I think it's
Um,
just in your subconscious. It's in your head, so you're
it's well,
thinking about it.
see, it's well, yeah. I mean, my birthday's coming up, and my dad's birthday was yesterday on June 12th, and my
Happy
dad
birthday!
is I hate to tell up on him here, but he's born in 1947, and I'll be 33 in August. I mean, it's clearly we're all advancing to our mortality, which is sadly what a lot of the good TV shows we used to watch have done. I was looking up yesterday, just researching for the show um, about the new Transformers series, and I apparently have missed all but one episode of it.
Hmm.
But in all fairness, Cartoon Network only shows it at it's on. We have Direct TV, so it comes on twice for me, and it comes on at 4:30 in the morning and at no 4:30 and like 10. I don't remember. It's weird. It's oddly spaced, and
Yeah.
I happened to get up early one day specifically to watch this new show, and I admit that I fell asleep at the last couple of minutes of it. But it wasn't because of the show. It was actually really good.
I think it's. I don't. I'm trying to figure
It,
out what direction they're going with the cartoons now.
you mean
Because.
Robots in the Skies?
Huh?
You mean the new one, Robots in the Skies?
No, I haven't seen that one. No, I'm just talking about in general. Because, what I think they're trying to do is they're trying to recapture the 90s when they had Dexter's Lab and Powerpuff Girls, Johnny Bravo, and shows like that.
Well,
And
nostalgia is definitely the in thing right now.
yeah, and I can definitely see it reflected in regular show, especially, honestly, because that's just a pure nostalgia trip
The
back to the
character,
80s.
most of the characters on there are all around our actual age range. Uh,
Yeah, it's just a pure nostalgia trip to the 80s. And Adventure Time really reminds me a lot about, I guess, an old kind of Dexter's Lab almost, but with more of a storyline. I don't know, what do you think?
I think it's a what I generally think it is the creators of these shows, because they're all around our actual age range or a little bit older. Uh, they clearly don't want to let go of their childhood.
Well,
Like
it's it's
well,
it's not only
no one
that.
really does.
Well,
No one
it's
really
not
does.
just that though. It's not just that because cartoon. I don't know if you watched cartoons in the early 2000s, or mid 2000s, but I think all of them were received very very poorly, and Cartoon Network had a horrible showing. I mean, just pretty much all of them have died out,
You mean like cow
and
and
I
chicken and
think
stuff like that?
like what?
Cow and chicken and a couple other shows.
Not not necessarily those. Those did no even later than that.
I actually like cow and chicken though.
I like Cow and Chicken. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about much later than that. That's still back in Dexter's Lab. You're still thinking in the '90s generation, '90s, early 2000s. That was Cartoon Network's kind of golden era. After that, they went into a super dark place. Like I remember they were trying to do live shows to try to get
Oh
attract
yeah.
new people. That ended horribly, and it was just a mess. And I think,
I had completely forgotten about that until you mentioned it.
hmm and I think they just basically, you know what, we're gonna go back to what we were good at. So they're going back to the late '90s to early 2000s cartoons because that's when they were at their best, and they're trying to recapture that right now.
Well, see, I don't.
In
I
fact, why
hate
do
to
you look?
say this, but I don't think Cartoon Network is going to manage that. I don't think. I was going to say Nickelodeon, but Nickelodeon has completely abandoned ever, ever.
Nickelodeon died so long ago.
I mean, actually, no. Hang on. With the exception of, um, I just forgot the name. I am bad this week. I need to write down the name of the shows.
I
The
feel like
brother and
you need
sister.
to. I feel
Um,
like you need to take a couple days for mourning.
I may. You know what? I'm going to look this show up because I cannot remember the name of it, and I feel so bad. But it's important that I mention the show. So you talk for a little bit. Hang on a second.
Well, while John looks that up, I'm gonna talk about some of my favorite shows. Um, and well, we're gonna talk more about this later, but I want to talk about it right now. Partly to lighten the mood, and partly because I just want to talk about it. So I'm gonna talk about Toonami. Woohoo! And how much fun that was growing up, and how those are some of my favorite cartoons that are still some of my favorite cartoons. Um, and I was going to give a top three of my anime list. So I suppose I'll start off with number three, which is Gundam Wing, which was the show that really introduced me to mechs, maybe even more than Transformers. I like Transformers. I watched Transformers, but I was never able to really consistently watch it. Gundam Wing was the show that really gripped me about mechs and just big space battles and just giant fights, and it was just awesome. And it kind of defined my I guess my early teenage years, and there were that was a show that really did make me want to buy a toy, which I never could because they were way too expensive for me and I was poor. But I wanted to so much. I wanted to like get one of the Gundams and build it. Death's Life was my favorite, and just put it on display and be like, yeah, look at that. For number two, I'm not sure how many people remember this actually. It's Yu Yu Hakusho, and I know when most people will say Dragon Ball Z was the best fighting show. I disagree. I think Dragon Ball Z had far too many problems, both in plot and character. I think Yu Yu Hakusho was a much, much better show. The characters were better developed, they actually evolved over time, their friendship grew in a more natural way. I never got how Vegeta and Goku were suddenly, oh, we're gonna be sort of best buddies now. It that always felt forced to me. And the fights were awesome. They really were, especially because Urameshi's gun cannon it was like you were always worried he was gonna miss. You were always worried he was gonna miss when he shot that. It wasn't like in Dragon Ball Z where almost all the shots were you either knew when they were going to miss or when they were going to hit. In Yu Yu Hakusho, you were always worried that something was gonna go wrong, something was gonna miss, something bad was gonna happen, like really bad. And it was just a great, great show. I never really got to finish it until honestly a couple of years ago when I was finally able to look it up online. That ending got a little weird where he became a demon and stuff like that, but overall, I would still say it's probably one of the best fighting shows that there has ever been. And my number one is Trigun. And Trigun is just a pure, beautiful art form. I know a lot of people would say Cowboy Bebop is the best anime. I completely disagree. To me, it is Trigun. And Vash the Stampede is one of the most elaborate, well developed, and well written characters that I have ever seen. And if there is one thing that I would like to do in life, is I would like to develop just something that even pales into comparison of what they did with Vash the Stampede and what they did with Trigun. And what's even more beautiful about Trigun is that it is a complete story. There is a start, there's an arc, there's a finish, and it is just beautiful. And it's part of why when I look at comics, sometimes I wish they would end them because Trigun is very short. It's only what a season, maybe 2 seasons. It's not long, like 20 some episodes. But those 20 some episodes are so well done, so coherent, so well written that you just can't help but leaving and just thinking, wow, that was just amazing. You back yet, John?
Yep, I've actually been back for about 5 minutes, but I was listening to you going on about the shows. How you mentioned you like Gundam Wing. I have problems with Gundam Wing. but I'll get that in a minute. The show I was looking up is actually not Nickelodeon.
Mhm.
It's probably one of the better. It was not probably. It's one of the best cartoons out right now, and like it makes it's able to make you think. And I was surprised when I checked because it's not Nickelodeon, it's not Cartoon Network. It's actually Disney.
Yep, Disney was always the third runner.
Gravity Falls is the show I was thinking of.
Oh yeah, I like Gravity Falls. That's pretty
Yes,
good.
it's really good. It really is, and I am not
It's a
generally
show
a
that I
watcher. But
it's a show that I really think of as a Cartoon Network show. Honestly, when I
it
think
does.
about
It
it.
seems like it would be on Cartoon Network, and I'm surprised it's not. I mean, but it's actually really good, and I can watch Gravity Falls and have no problem with it. I enjoy it. But some other Disney programs, uh, like their new Star Wars thing, no, I'm sorry. I have seen the Clone Wars. The Clone Wars is and most likely will be my favorite show. But like, and I'm saying kids in air quotes here, kids show ever. I mean,
Yeah,
it's genuinely well done.
I can't disagree with that.
And I mean, this is growing up. Like my later years, I watched Transformers, Beast Wars, and clearly Dexter's Laboratory and stuff like that. My Little
Mm.
Pony is one that I watch regularly now. Stuff like that. But I mean, Clone Wars. If you take out all of the silly episodes, it is dark. It is dark. I mean, you have characters that die on screen. Had the show been finished and well, when I say finished, I mean not taken off the air, and the rest of it had to go on Netflix and only Netflix.
Yeah.
They would have they would have pretty much ended the series with being just prior to the Battle of Coruscant. And one of the most astounding scenes I have seen on the series was I cannot remember this particular clone trooper's name. I should remember it and I don't. Um, Order number 66 activates in him a little too early,
Oh
and
yeah.
they're in a battle fighting separatists, and he walks up to a Jedi general who this particular general was I don't remember her race. I'm sorry, but she was a twin, and he walks up to her and just shoots her in the back of the head. Like it's that real. I mean, he executes a general and then snaps back to himself, and he looks down and he's like, "What have I done?" You know,
Mm.
they had stuff like that, and they had what has got to be my favorite story arc on there in the whole series. Jedi General Pong Krell and
Mm.
is looking at the clone troopers as being inferior, not fully accepting that, like Yoda pointed out early on. Like, okay, initially the first season or so, the episodes jumped around a lot. Like the continuity was wrong because they didn't go they didn't go with the correct story arcs. It was a decision by Cartoon Network, and it's fine. But like
That that tends to happen in the first season.
there is a it's like doing a hatchet order with the Star Wars movies. If you do it in the correct order, you see some beautiful story arcs. But anyway, Pong Krell, Jedi General, who didn't like the clones, and even though Yoda had acknowledged that every clone, all like 100 million or whatever, however many there were, they were all individuals within the Force. Like the Force acknowledged They're all individual people. And Paul Krell didn't like that. He thought the clones were wastes, like I mean, not even worth the effort. And
Yeah.
so he decides to play uh, the clones off of one another, and it's a frightening story arc. It really is because you see clones shooting clones. They're killing their own brothers, effectively, just
Mm.
because this general has decided to play, God with them, and it's a frightening storyline. Uh, there was another one where Barris Ophi uh, starts blowing up the Jedi Temple and trying to kill Jedi because she's realized the Separatists are right and their public is corrupt, and so she has a trial, and it's just I mean it's very adult to put these shows on TV in front of children,
It is.
and I mean compared to stuff like I don't know Dora the Explorer or SpongeBob. Actually, speaking of SpongeBob, SpongeBob has done a lot of wonders for a lot of people because most people, who deal with depression can look at characters like Squidward and can see he's depressed. I mean, he has even had a joke scene where he threatened to kill himself. It's dark
Yeah.
in that respect, but I think
SpongeBob actually it has a lot of hidden adult messages, I would say.
it does. But I mean, like like for me, just because of the way the Clone Wars was done, it was gritty, it was real, and
It
it
was serious.
was basically the only way I can describe this is the perfect post 9/11 cartoon. It definitely shows, you know, particularly the kids watching it. Hey, there's some bad stuff out there, and George Lucas has always been really good at doing stuff like that. Putting these little messages in. I mean, it's a tradition, I guess. Um, but it goes back, to the days, at least as far as I can remember, the original Transformer series. There was an episode where what would happen if the United States had not uh, wound up uh, helping to bring down the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union took over the United States. I mean, it's really dated to look back at it now, uh, but it's just one of those messages that was put in there. I mean, clearly you have uh, an evil government. Like this is also present in GI Joe. You have a what is effectively a governmental type entity. Excuse me, the bad guy, who's able to influence politicians through using money and through using corporations and through using technology, and they always have a highly militarized, highly technology technology based military, and like that's something that I I feel now that I'm an adult, I can look back and see, hey, there, it was a subtle warning hinted at, put in there of the dangers of uh, corporations as far as being part of the government goes and the military goes. And it's a problem that a lot of people are having to deal with now. And I think we're dealing with it better because those cartoons showed us in our childhood this is not okay.
Mm, that's an interesting reflection.
I mean, it's weird to think about it, but if if you go back and watch, shows like that, you'll see it. You'll absolutely see it. There was a big deal with the original Transformers when Casey Kasem left and stopped voicing characters on the show, so they effectively killed off the characters he voiced, even though they were still animated in several episodes, because of an episode taking place in a Middle Eastern country that was called Carbamia. And I mean, we're talking 30 years ago. And, most of these countries over there, okay, like in reality, this was just after the Iranian government was taken over and transformed, and people in the Mujahideen in Afghanistan were trying to fight off the Soviet Union advance. This is before anyone really acknowledged, what we think of as a terrorist now. I mean, the only example we had then, was the incident at the Olympics, and then a couple other things like people, kidnapping people. That was what the world had as an example of terrorism. But here you have a nation literally called Carbamia, and their wealth is in oil,
I
and
know I shouldn't laugh, but I can't help but
there are
laugh.
people. You know what?
I know I shouldn't laugh, but I can't help but laugh.
Yes, it's funny to think about it now, because you're looking back, and like as an adult, it's like, wow, are these people trying to insinuate that there's going to be people in the Middle East who deal with oil that are car bombers? And here we live in a world, post 9/11, where that's what we've dealt with. It's been an actual thing. Now, of course, there's no nation called Carbamia, and I am not. Of course, I'm not bringing this up, to insult anyone who's a Muslim or in that part of the world in general. But it's interesting, to know that was there. There was a nation in Transformers, and because Transformers and G.I. Joe share the same universe, it was part of G.I. Joe. Carbamia was a thing, but it was considered so offensive at the time that Casey Kasem quit being on the show.
I could understand that.
But it's just one of those things, that's kind of it's a hidden message in those shows, and I think a lot of current cartoons don't have that. They don't have these. Now, whether they're good messages or bad messages, I'm not going to say, but there's clearly a lack of putting stuff like that in kids shows. And now that may be a good thing. I don't know. I really can't, just come out and say whether I think it's a good thing or a bad thing that those types of subjects are hidden. But that's why I'm glad that the Clone Wars series showed that. I mean, it was basically saying, hey, there's some bad stuff going on.
I don't know, because
Be aware.
Adventure Time honestly has some very, very dark storylines going on in there. I don't know how much you've watched.
I haven't watched it in quite a while, actually.
Well, basically, we find out that the planet Oo, right?
The what?
The planet that they're on, that Finn and Jake are on.
Yeah.
It's they call it Oo, but really it's Earth. It's really just Earth. And one of the episodes, Finn is traveling to Mars, and he looks back at Oo, and there's a giant, like a giant chunk out of it is missing. And one of the storylines is about something called a mushroom war, which basically just means a nuclear war. And there's a lot of dark storylines, like this is a post-apocalyptic world where a nuclear war has happened, along with a variety of other magical and other things. But it's really really dark. It's really interesting actually, because it reminds me a lot of some of the things that you were talking about, where we see the results of war and what it can do, or I suppose this show is actually after war, and then the things you were talking about were more during war, but it's still a very dark theme. It still tries to teach people, I would say.
I knew about like I read it somewhere, and it
Hmm.
mentioned how this is at some point in time on Earth, and Finn's the only human. But I
Hmm.
also read a story that Finn may just be dreaming. It's all a dream, or
No,
Finn,
it's not.
or
It's not.
or or not just a dream. But this has been suggested about a lot of films, and I'm going to narrow it down just to one. Just because you can go along the idea that the characters are actually dead with a lot of series. But uh, for example, Finn may be dead, but
I think
the
they
example I was going
kind
to
of
use,
disproved that theory with the last episode. I
the
think.
the example I was going to go with is another Cartoon Network show, um, Ed, Ed and Eddie.
Really? People think. I mean,
Yes,
I can kind of
yes,
see that.
Ed, Ed, okay, okay. Here's the reason. The show takes place in modern days, but if you look at all the characters, you'll see that they have interests and things that they do that no child today would really have. Not in today's world. For starters,
Well,
you have
back then, I
hang on.
not mad at
For
that.
starters, you have Eddie.
Yeah.
Arguably the ringleader of the whole group,
Yeah.
who walks around twirling what is it, it it's a wallet chain, but it's a watch chain, and he acts like he's from the 40s.
Hmm.
And if you listen to his music choices, it sounds very much as if Eddie is from the late 1930s, 1940s. The way he talks is representative of that as well. And the Naz clearly belongs in the 1960s. Rolf is turn of the century. I mean, he's okay. Look at his TV. I mean, and I know TVs, were not considered widespread until then. But the first TVs came out, 1920, 1930, somewhere around like little bitty tiny monitors, and that's what he has in his home is a little itty bitty tiny monitor. It's so small, it's almost a radio. Uh, Jimmy, uh, it's unreal. I mean, it's crazy to look at this and read this and realize, oh shit, this might actually be true. These kids
I
might
think
actually be dead.
I think that one's kind of a bit of a stretch, honestly.
Well,
I mean,
look at
I think they're just reflections of different people influenced by different times. But I
they
mean,
are, but for what reason would you have a kid who acts like it's the 1940s?
Because
I mean, Jimmy is clearly a sick boy. He is sick. I mean, he's small, he's weak, he's sick, but yet he gets up and he's one of the toughest kids on the show. There is no way someone realistically, excuse me, who represents what Jimmy represents, who has to have someone take care of him in the guise of Sarah, that Jimmy would be playing football or stuff like that.
mm,
So, like the theory says, Jimmy is from the 1950s or so because if you remember his design, he has that little pompadour hairdo, and he
mhm.
has the big the big wire bracers. That was all stuff from the 1950s, and its theory and the theory goes that Jimmy probably had polio, and he died of polio.
Hmm.
It's I hope it's not true. Like, I really sincerely hope that this was not done intentionally, and this is just someone reading too much into it. But
I, I kind of think someone's just reading way too much into it.
we'll see. There was also people who did the same thing with, of all shows possible, Rugrats.
Rugrats?
Yes, Rugrats. And look at,
Oh.
well, the kids are not all dead in this. Well, Tommy's dead, for sure. Like Tommy is supposed to be dead. Phil and Lil are dead. Chucky is still there, but Angelica is dreaming up that they talk, and she's dreaming up everything going on. Like Angelica is the only one who's currently alive, and then you have Rugrats all grown up later on, where Angelica dies of a drug overdose at like 13. Like, it's weird. It's weird, and it takes me to this dark place about these cartoons. And going back and looking at it, I can kind of see. I mean, there's clearly been the indication given that Tommy Pickles is actually a Time Lord. Daleks were on the show, and he carries a screwdriver with him, and his number one color is blue, like blue TARDIS screwdriver. And I'm serious. I'm serious. There was an episode where there were Daleks on the show. There were actual Daleks
I
drawn
remember
on
that.
the
I
show.
remember.
But
I
it's
remember.
it's it's kind of crazy that people will look at these shows and will say, "Oh, that's there. It's just this little hidden thing." But it's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, you you can make a lot of theories out of things. You you can definitely make some interesting theories off of some of these shows.
I think now we're at that awkward silence point in time.
Well, I mean, you did make a very dark, depressing show. I'm just saying.
It's not intentional. Not really. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah. Anyway, let's start talking about anime. I suppose. Um.
Maybe
Since,
try to lighten the mood. So.
what's that?
Maybe try to lighten the mood a little bit.
Maybe. But okay. But okay. Since you named your top three anime, I guess I'm gonna have to as well. And it's really hard to do this. Number one, Gundam. Sorry, Gundam has to be not Gundam Wing.
The
I'll
original.
get into that yet in a minute. Mobile Suit Gundam.
Yeah, the
Like,
original.
well, not just that, but Mobile Suit Gundam, Gundam 0080, Gundam 0083, Char's Counterattack, like anything in that continuing storyline right there.
Yeah, because I think you've watched a lot more Gundam than I've had, or than I
The
have.
basically the entirety of the Universal Century Gundam line. Now, I have not seen Zeta or Double Zeta, so I can't really include them. But I've seen, I think I keep wanting to say Gundam Seed. That's probably the wrong one, but I mean, just it's. I like giant robot stuff. Before that, I like Transformers. I like
Hmm.
Big O, and I
Oh,
like
Big O is awesome.
uh, Gigantor and stuff like that. But watching Mobile Suit Gundam on TV and knowing it was canceled, we keep coming back to 9/11 for some reason, but it was actually canceled because of September 11th.
Really?
Uh, yeah,
Oh, that makes me sad.
yeah, it was canceled because Cartoon Network did not want children to see violence that day.
Hmm.
Like it was switched for other programs, and there were a lot of other series that were dropped or held off from being available to be aired because of that. They
I mean,
tried to come back a little while later and finish out
because
Gundam. Do it.
I remember seeing Mobile Suit Gundam, and I was wow, I was really into it. But then I remember it just kind of disappeared, and I never gotten to finish it because back then, Toonami was my primary. It was pretty much the only way I had for watching anime. That and Saturday morning cartoons.
Well, that's why it was taken off. Now you know after nearly 20 years. That's why.
Mm,
They were at the point in time in the storyline where it was almost the end of the 1 year war. Almost the end. And what happens at the end of it is okay, if you're familiar with World War II history, you're
yeah.
probably a little familiar with what happens in this because it's based off of it. It's very heavily based off of World War II, and it's weird, watching a Japanese show where the Japanese are showing the bad guys who wear Japanese uniforms and act like Nazis, and they get the shit beat out of them by this larger, more powerful group, which is the United States. It's
Well,
weird. It's like the
it,
Japanese did it, saying, "Oh, hey, look at this. We fucking lost."
it's kind of a reflection, a social reflection of Japanese culture after the U.S. occupation. Also, part of why some of them are trying to go back to more traditional Japanese. It's a weird thing. Part of
It's weird,
Japan,
but
part of Japan loves the U.S. and part of Japan hates the U.S. I'll put it like that.
it's weird, but I like it. But like the point in time that was going to happen was, excuse me, there was going to be a big battle at Fortress Solomon. A lot of characters, whether you see them or not, a lot of people are going to die. Clearly,
Mm-hmm.
um, Girin Zabi actually gets assassinated.
Oh,
He gets shot through the head by his sister
ouch.
Castilia, and
Ouch.
like an episode or two later, Castilia actually gets shot by uh, Char.
Mm-hmm.
He kills her, and that's kind of where it ends. It was really dark, but I mean we're talking about the '70s, when it was done.
Yeah.
Like I I kind of understand, why it was taken off the air, but at the same time, no, it was a really weird decision to me at the time.
Yeah.
It is now. But yeah, like as far as Tsunami goes, Cartoon Network has done really good uh, with bringing that back and adding in new programs and stuff. And their current run is only like 5 hours, 4 or 5 hours, something like that. But it's good. I like everything they have on there. The only program I actually don't watch. It's because it's the only one on the current lineup that is a rerun as far as being aired on there, and that is Attack on Titan. That's the only one I don't watch. I go back and I rewatch, because our I'm sorry, it's 3 hours long because
I actually like Attack on Titan.
I like it. It's good. It really don't get me wrong. It's good, but I just don't watch it
Hmm.
on repeat. It's one of those things that I've watched all the way through. And I've seen several episodes more than once. So I just don't go back and watch it on repeat.
I can kind of
Understand?
understand that.
But I will absolutely do that with Sword Art Online too, because when I watched it, I had to watch it in Japanese, and now I get to watch it in English. But when I initially watched it, I could only watch it subtitled. Now I can watch it dubbed.
I was disappointed with Sword Art Online too, honestly. I was
Why?
disappointed. Well, I was disappointed with the second season of Sword Art Online and the first season of Sword Art Online too. But I like season 1 and 4. Well, I love
I
season 1, and I
I
like
like
season
it all.
4.
I mean, it has you know
I it was
spots
because
where
okay in season 2 it was because of what they did to God, what's her name? Who's
Kidan.
Asuna,
Oh
because they
yeah,
made her a
that
damsel in distress.
that was a little rough to watch.
They made her and the tentacle thing. The tentacle thing. You cannot tell me that did not bother you.
Tentacle thing. What now?
Remember when she's trying to free herself or free all the kids that are trapped, and she gets caught by the tentacle monsters?
I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch this because I don't remember that.
They completely violated Asuna's character to me. They completely just wrecked it, honestly. And we don't see her. That's probably the reason I like season 4, because we finally see Asuna come back into her own. Um, because one of the reasons that I love Sword Art Online so much is not just Kirito, but Asuna. Asuna is she was one of the best female characters I had ever seen in season 1. She was strong, she was fierce, she saved Kirito several times. She was a leader, a general,
She was pretty
and
badass with a character.
she was a complete badass. And when I saw what they did to her in season 2, I mean, I kind of got the storyline. She's trapped, but just the level that they took it, where they made her such the cliche of a damsel in distress. Like, she was such the perfect example of a damsel in distress who was just so helpless and couldn't do anything for herself, no matter how hard she tried. And that Kirito is the only one that can possibly save her. It just it really bothered me.
Well, what about uh Yuki Kano?
Who?
Yuki Kano,
I'm not sure I remember that.
the character that was put in there to fuck your feelings up.
Oh, Yuki.
Yeah,
That
her.
one was. I I'm not really sure that I liked any of the other female characters that much outside of Asuna, honestly.
So you're saying you did not at all appreciate that particular storyline?
It was so ridiculous, though. It was. I mean, I understand, post-traumatic stress syndrome, and people get just really terrified of, something either based on the past event or just they don't like it. But it was just such an awkward storyline to me that
You're thinking of Shinon. I am not talking about Shinon.
oh no I'm thinking of Shino. Yeah, I am thinking of Shino. No, oh, Yugi, the his cousin, right?
Yuki's the little girl who was in the guild that they wanted Asuna to join for a little while
Oh,
because
oh,
yeah, yeah,
oh,
she does
oh,
something I'm
oh.
not gonna say because of this week.
Uh, I didn't mind it that much, honestly. Um, I kind of actually related to it a little bit. I mean, honestly, because you know my situation. And I could generally see kind of the appeal of being in something like that. Near the end.
Yeah,
And just trying to do something most people would say is impossible or something. Um, I I'm not sure that storyline bothered me.
I think it bothered a lot of people. Not in a negative way. It was just Sword Art Online is really good at capturing like specific emotions over a lot of things, and I think that was one of the ones where they took something that's really important and just went straight for the heart with it.
I mean, I'll put it like this. If someone's about to die and they want to go out with just a big bang, just doing something, accomplishing something that like no one else has or no one else thinks they can or something like that, then I mean that's just I can see the merit in that. I'll put it like that.
And you see, you thought we got dark earlier.
I was kind of worried about this because I was thinking, oh no, anime is actually a lot darker than most of our cartoons.
It is. I mean,
Like
it's not
John's,
bad.
I was like, you're in a dark mood. You're gonna start talking about the dark things in the anime, and so just how fun it is to watch giant mechs beat each other up.
Well, I mean, we can talk about darker anime. I mean, want to like um
Oh no. See,
hmm,
what I was talking about, I was just talking about how much fun it was. I didn't go into the dark stuff.
I mean, like, okay, if you want to talk about dark anime, let's talk about the one that everyone seems to enjoy that was never finished. Uh, Dead Man Wonderland.
Oh yeah, that one was.
It's pretty
I
dark,
I mean,
and
I really liked
I
it,
mean,
but yeah,
I mean,
that was some really.
it has some really good scenes in it. But there's two that stand out really really well to me. Um, I can't remember character names. I'm sorry. But there's the girl who has the blood earrings. Who's just like, oh, please help me. I'm small and weak. And then 5 seconds later, fuck you! When she's attacking him, it's
Mhm.
weird. And it makes me realize how genuinely messed up this child. She's a child. How messed up this child has to be. And then there's the
Mhm.
other scene, which is in like the last episode or next to last episode of the episodes that were released, and it's where a a slap occurs. I'll leave it at that. A slap occurs.
Hmm. I mean, that one was really dark. And then, what was the other show they aired with that? The I remember the one with the guy in the jumpsuit and the helmet and stuff.
Jumpsuit and the helmet.
He looked like Beautiful Joe, basically. I have to look it up now. I'm terrible with names. I'm terrible with names. I'm good at.
Are you talking about No, you're not talking about.
Casher and Sins.
You know,
Casher and Sins. That's what I'm talking about.
I don't think I ever watched that. Now you mention it.
That one had a really. It was equally as dark as Dead Man Wonderland, but in a much more fantastical way. I'll put it like that.
I
And
think
there was one episode that really moved me where basically he's fighting this warrior girl who she's just defeated everyone that's ever faced her, and she just kind of goes around killing everyone because they keep coming to fight her. And she fights Cashern, and she falls in love with him through the battle. And it's just a it's a really interesting episode, and it was one that really moved me.
See, I think one of the darkest anime series of all time, and I think we're probably going to close with this one because we've been going for about an hour now, and we were going to try and stick
You
to
still haven't finished your top 3 list, though. I'm just saying.
Well, I know, but
You just name them real fast.
we can always come back to it. It's okay. We can always come back to it.
No. Just name your number 2 and number 3. We'll come back to it later.
Number 2 and number 3. Okay. Wait, did I not name?
You just all you named was Gundam. Mobile Suit Gundam.
Cowboy Bebop unquestionably has to be on the list. It has to be. I mean, I know it's so cliche at this point in time to say it, but really,
I mean, for me, it was a toss-up between Trigun and Cowboy Bebop, I would say.
Like, really though, what has beaten Cowboy Bebop?
For me, I would say Trigun. But, yeah.
Well,
Cowboy Bebop is very close.
Excuse me, you could say, Space Dandy.
I still have not gotten to watch that.
You should. It's actually in the same universe as Cowboy Bebop. Believe it or not. No, like, if I really had to pick something, that's got all the elements for what I enjoy, it's got to be. I mean, okay, like Big Robot, clearly for me, Gundam. Even though Big O is amazing, and so is
Big O was very close to making my list.
Gigantor. I mean, you can name all kinds of giant robot anime, but I think I'm gonna have to go with the primary Universal Century storyline, not Gundam Wing. I'm sorry, Gundam Wing is cool and all, but it's.
I won't say that Gundam Wing is the best anime series. I'll just say it's one of my favorites.
Well, see, okay, here's the thing. Gundam Wing is Marvel Comics. It's big, it's loud, it's flashy. The original Gundam storyline It's DC Comics. It's there for adults. It has adult themes. It has adult messages, and it's just much better.
Yeah. Anyways.
Okay. So the original UC storyline. Oh wait, no, wait. Actually, I can narrow down that whole genre for Universal Century Gundam to one series, or one single solitary 6-episode series. I can narrow that down.
Okay.
Gundam 0080 War in the Pocket. If you have to pick a singular thing for Mobile Suit Gundam that represents giant robots, clearly, the fascination that we all have with them, and
We're all
dealing
should
with
have.
loss and suffering and love and tragedy and just everything you can imagine. War in the Pocket.
Okay. So wait. Your number one is mobiles, or we'll say Gundam to was it 0080?
Yeah, we'll just go
Okay.
with that.
Your number two is Cowboy Bebop. What's your number
Yep.
three?
Number 3. Oh, you know what? Actually, you can put all of these at number 1 if you want to. Number 1 anime of all time that is my favorite that I could watch continually, and this is almost a coin toss thing for me because well, I mean it would have to be a multi-sided coin, but it's really close to having to be completely removed from the list because it's so awesome. But Akira,
A classic choice.
yes, I mean it's one again. It's almost so cliched because everyone loves it, but I think
Yeah.
everyone who watches it loves it for different reasons. Me, oh excuse me, I like the music. Obviously, the music's fantastic. The storyline is amazing. I love the animation style. I love the story itself. But like there, geez, okay, there is a scene that I'm thinking of where two characters are walking on a bridge at night, and they're looking back over Neo Tokyo. You have the characters themselves walking and talking on the bridge. That was one animated sequence. The buildings behind them were another animated sequence. And then the city in the distance was yet another animated sequence. And then the stars and stuff was another one. Like there's like 4 different layers there, and everything moves separately. But when you watch it at the same time, it's so realistic. It's beautiful. I mean, just like that one scene is amazing. The scene, of course, where uh, Tetsuo, becomes the giant monster.
Mhm.
That's amazing. It's beautiful. Like there is layer upon layer upon layer there visually and emotionally and everywhere else. But the reason I say it's a coin toss is because Ghost in the Shell is right up there
Yeah.
with that, and so
The new
is
one or the old one?
both of them.
Hmm.
Both of them, actually, because it's one
Because
story. And
I've
and
heard a lot of people criticize the original.
well, okay, you can actually throw in uh, like the whole genre for Ghost in the Shell, like the original movie, second movie, and the TV series. You can lump that in and like all of that. Excuse me. Let's see. My third one that would be number 1. Oh, it's so difficult to pick this.
Wait, you just picked the
Uh,
third one. You picked Akira.
okay. The reason it has to be multi-sided is Dominion Tank Police and Vampire Hunter D and Grave of the Fireflies. Holy fuck, that movie is good.
I
That
think the
movie is fantastic.
I
It,
think the point we're trying to establish here is that we like anime.
yeah, but Grave with the Fireflies is an easy recommendation to make for anyone because it will absolutely destroy your emotions. It will ruin you, but you'll love it. You'll love being and Tokyo Godfathers is in there too. I mean, it's good, and I think a lot of people who you know look at cartoons and say, "Well, that shit's for little kids." Don't ever sit down and watch it. They won't watch them because it's for little kids. No, it's it's amazing. I have been trying for years to get people in my family to watch stuff like Akira and Grave of the Fireflies, Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, stuff like that because they're so good.
They
It's a
really are.
amazing storyline. Visually, they're stunning, and then you have this little twist in some of them that, like I said, would just destroy your feelings. Like you have no emotions after you watch it because it's just so powerful, and it's weird because a lot of people will look at something like Avatar and say, "Well, Avatar is a fantastic movie." Avatar is a recycled fucking story that's been told like it's one of the oldest stories in human history. Boy meets
It's
girl,
still a good
boy
cartoon
falls in
series.
love with girl, girl doesn't like him. They have it's uh the story of Pocahontas and John Smith. It's the story of Dances with Wolves. And I'm sorry, but Dances with Wolves is a far superior movie to Avatar. Sorry, James Cameron. I know you did it just so you can make money, but it's a far superior movie. And I'll even say that Titanic is a far superior movie, even though I know James Cameron only did that just so he could go see the actual ship.
Yeah, Avatar isn't that great of a movie to me. It's pretty, but not that great.
Now,
But
if you want to talk about a James Cameron movie that's really good, that has a message, it's worth watching over everything else, The Abyss.
hmm,
There, I said it. That's my favorite James Cameron. But anyway, like I said, we're over an hour now. Next week we should have the normal show. Hopefully, Danny will have landed on her dragon, and I'll be here. Nick will be here, and I'm working on some more live streaming this week at some point in time. I dropped the ball this past week. I'm sorry, but yeah, shit's gonna happen. Wednesday show's coming up. There's apparently a lot going on in the world, so we'll have stuff to talk about then. And yeah, I guess that's gonna be it for this week.
yep.
Maybe,
And I
actually, maybe next week, since we're gonna have Danny back, we may just have her and finish the conversation. I don't know.
We might as well.
Probably. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this week. Um, Please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, tell your friends about us, tell your mom about us. Your mom is cooler than you are. Happy birthday, even though it's late, but happy birthday to my dad. And I miss you, Christopher Lee. I really do, and I think the whole world misses you. And Dusty Rhodes and everyone else we have lost this week, we miss you. So this show is dedicated to all of them and to all of their fans and future fans, past fans, and whatnot.
Goodbye,
Anything you want to say,
everyone.
Nick?
Yes, I was going to say goodbye,
Okay.
and I wish all those family um my sentiments, and I hope they remember the good times of those people and realize the important impact they left on our lives. And I promise the next show will not be quite as dark, as long as no one else dies. No one else can die. No one can die for a week.
Yeah, we'll try. But yeah, that's it for this week. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. And again, remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next Saturday. Bye-bye.
Bye.